We got a fun Sunday night football matchup here with major playoff implications as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs fly up to Wisconsin and play at Lambeau Field against Jordan Love and the Packers, who are coming off, I would say, an upset victory on Thanksgiving Day as they beat their division rival, the Detroit Lions, pretty handily. I would say 29-22, a pretty dominant victory. While the Chiefs are coming off a dominant victory against their division rival as well against the Las Vegas Raiders today. Winning 31-17, got down 14-0 pretty quickly, and then Patrick Mahomes and the team started like, okay, let's start playing seriously now. We put up 31 points. So, want to throw it over to you here, Ryan. Green Bay Packers, I think, have been playing a little bit better football overall over these past couple of weeks. They're currently sitting at 5-6. They are the top team, actually, the top team on the outside looking in. To the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just one game back on the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings as well. What are your overall thoughts on this game? What do the Packers need to do to come out victorious here this week?
Well, one of the big things that I noticed in the Thanksgiving game was just that they came out and they were playing a little bit looser. I think Matt LaFleur did an interview before, and he just said that he felt like he's been too conservative lately and not wanting to take chances. And they definitely came out. They took some chances. Ooh, English, it's hard. Took some chances and hit Christian Watson with a deep ball to open the game. And they looked like they were playing with more confidence. They just looked like they knew what they were doing. Jordan Love specifically was going through his progressions, hitting the open receiver, and utilizing that arm strength that we all knew he had even when he was coming out of Utah State in the draft. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I do definitely give the advantage to the Chiefs, even though I feel like this offense isn't as explosive as we've seen lately in like the last few seasons. In the last, I think today they put up 31 against the Raiders, but then it was 17, 21, 9, and then 31-19 were their last 6 scores. So, I mean, that's not a mathematician, but I think that averages around like 22.5 points, 23 maybe. I know that 9 is a little bit of an outlier, but just again, not as potent. They don't have the weapons that they used to. Travis Kelce only has 64 catches for 640 yards. And granted, I don't think that includes week 12's game quite yet, but still, like at this point in the season, we're usually seeing him in the top 5, top 10 receiving yard category. And he's not really close to that at the moment. So it's just interesting to watch. They are still getting by, but to me, it's defensively. And that's where I think this is actually going to be a really low scoring game. Because when you look at the stats defensively, the Chiefs have the 4th best pass defense in the NFL right now. And the Packers are the 8th best. Now, where that gets very different is when you look at rushing stats. And the Chiefs, I think, are right in the middle of the road. I think it might be a little bit behind. I think they're at 18th. They don't have the numbers. I'm just kind of trying to count quickly. Where I think the Packers are at 10th. So in rushing yards allowed this season. So
actually, I think the Packers are worse than that. Actually, as a
I'm sorry.
I think the Packers have.
It was sorted. It was flipped. My bad.
Oh, it was flipped.
Yeah. So they're about 20. What would that be? 24th.
Okay.
So, which I think is a really bad thing for the Packers because the Chiefs very much so are actually a run-heavy team. I think the strength of this team is Isaiah Pacheco, the interior of this offensive line, and kind of running behind those guards in between the tackles. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I do think it'll actually be pretty low scoring, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, to talk on that point, I can absolutely see when this offense is really clicking. And today they didn't have too many rushing yards today because I think the Raiders defense actually is pretty good against the run overall. I just want to double check that. But they only had 69 rushing yards total on the game today against the Raiders. Pacheco had only 55 rushing yards. But I think the Raiders though also were trying to stop the run, and then Mahomes them just like, okay, well we'll just throw all over.
Yeah.
So threw for 300 yards. Part of that too, I think maybe the game plan of them getting down early kind of opened some things up for them. So
Yeah.
but in general though, that's where I do think the weakness in the Packers running game is going to have a huge effect because I don't feel like the Chiefs would ever feel off balance when it comes to their playbook, just because they are able to run the ball pretty effectively. They are in the middle of the road statistically running the ball, but when they are able to run the ball effectively, and Pacheco is their 3-down guy, he's their bell cow guy, he runs between tackles, and also is a great receiver out of the backfield as well. And I know one thing too, Travis Kelce, he has been banged up a little bit this year. I know he started the season off; he didn't play those first couple of games. But statistically, though, I think when he has been playing, he has been that premier tight end, one of the best receivers in the league. And I think you're just kind of you're getting exactly what you need out of everybody else, kind of replacing those stats. I was looking at it the other day. Rashee Rice, and even then, kind of the Justin Watson, his role is getting a lot bigger. Just those two alone, their stats are kind of replacing Juju Smith-Schuster's stats from last year, who wasn't a 1,000-yard receiver, but he did lead the league. It did lead the team in receiving yards last year. Who wasn't
by a receiver?
By a receiver, yeah. Who wasn't Travis Kelce? And so they're finding those stats elsewhere, and they're finding those roles, and it's their offensive system that Andy Reid has set in. I think has taken a little bit longer, I think, this year to develop, but I think the offense is starting to pick up just a little bit. When it comes to the Packers, especially to just what I saw in that Detroit Lions game, and they even are now on a little bit of a winning streak as well. I agree completely. They looked more free. Jordan Love looked like he had more time in the pocket. I think that was probably the biggest thing, actually, and I'll get to that in a second. But taking shots downfield, the first play of the game was that 50-yard bomb to Christian Watson. I feel like that set the tone for the entire game. Detroit wasn't able to send the guys that they really wanted to, but at the same time, Jordan Love had a clean pocket. I don't think he got sacked at all during the game. If so, it was just one random time. But sometimes that happens. But they had a clean pocket the entire time. He was able to pick apart that Detroit Lions defense, which is also one of the tops in the league. I think some of these younger players, they needed some time to get used to the NFL speak, get used to the NFL playbook. But sitting there at 5-6 here, and they've won. Let me pull it up here now. They've won 2 games in a row now. They did beat the Chargers, lost the Lions, should have beat the Steelers, but then had a dominant victory against the Rams. So won 3 of their last 4. Starting to build some more momentum here. And if they could somehow pull this game off, then they go up against the Giants, Bucks, Panthers, and then they're at the Vikings in week 17. So can really build some huge momentum here as they're making their potential playoff push. I think Jordan Love has been playing a little bit better. First season hasn't been great. He's had a lot of criticism, a lot of ups and downs, especially from week 1 then to like week 5 was a big downturn, I think, in everybody's commentary on Jordan Love. But it takes time. I think that's one thing, too. I think a lot of people, especially this day and age, with everybody wanting stuff at their fingertips immediately. Netflix are able to stream an entire season in 10 hours. I think you just need patience for these guys to develop here. Sit behind a quarterback for 3 years, and then now coming in and playing is totally different. He's not going to know the full game speed.
He's probably learned more in these 11 games than he did in all 3 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's going to take some time here. They still can make the playoffs. Seahawks have their flaws. Vikings definitely have their flaws as well. So still some opportunities here, but a big game at home this Sunday night. It's going to be a fun one to watch here. So let's move on to our predictions here for this game. But before we do that, if you've not already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever we create new content. Right tonight, we have a very unique goal here to end out the year. If we hit 2,333 subscribers, we would have gotten 2,000 subscribers to our community of other like-minded football fans who just love the game in this calendar year. So if you can help us reach our goal of 2,333, that'd be much appreciated. So like, subscribe if you're not already. And Ryan, who do you have winning this game and why?
So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they will be able to take advantage of the lack of run defense by the Green Bay Packers. Because right now, I think the Kansas City Chiefs, what they don't have in explosiveness, I think they make up for in physicality. And that to me is just, they're going to run the ball down Green Bay's throat, and then they're going to keep doing it. Oh, play action to Travis Kelce down the seam, Rashee Rice out wide, and then probably mix in Mecole Hardman, Justin Watson, and some of the other guys with like 3 or 4 catches, and they'll just spread the ball around, and they'll put Green Bay's defense in a blender that way, just slowly kind of throughout 4 quarters till they just don't know who the game plan is really about, right? Because it's not going to be about one individual player. I'm going to bet on Andy Reid over Matt LaFleur and Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes over Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. That to me, I'm just more confident in that duo, even though I haven't seen the like offensive genius as much this year. I still think that they can pull a rabbit out of the hat every now and then. So
yeah. I still think that there's still that offensive genius, just because with even less receiver talent overall.
Yeah,
able to have one of the top offenses in the league, but there definitely is that lack of talent, and the receiver, that lack of that explosive player though is noticeable. They're still able to manufacture these drives, manufacture this offense here. I really want to go with Green Bay. They've had some good momentum. I think they've been playing better. I think Matt LaFleur and this young offense is finally starting to figure some things out, get into a rhythm here. But I'm going to also have to go with the Chiefs here. It just feels like going against Pat Mahomes in December is just not a recipe for success.
Yeah.
And I feel this is going to be one of those games as a young football team. It's kind of similar, I would say, to the Texans compared to like their loss to the Jaguars today in Week 12. So a young team, and they're just going to have to kind of go through some of these losses against just better, more championship caliber teams to get to that point here. I'm seeing good positive momentum from the Packers here. I'm seeing Jordan Love take the right steps. Christian Watson seems to be fully healthy. I think Jaden Reed's been a good pick overall. Romeo Doubs, that receiving trio, I think could be something that a lot of people are very scared about here over these next couple of years.
Yeah,
I think just as a young football team, young offensive, especially with their offensive line weaknesses, I just think it's just going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be 24-17 Kansas City.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be lower scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of running the football. Both these pass defenses are pretty good. And while I think the Packers can make the explosive play, as we kind of saw in the Lions game, like they made 2 explosive plays early, and then it kind of slowed down a little bit. And I think it'll probably be a similar case here. Like they might have a few explosive plays, but then the rest of it, they're going to have to piece together long drives. And this Kansas City defense is one of the best in the league, which is kind of scary to think about. So, but yeah, so we're both taking the Chiefs in this matchup. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Kansas City Chiefs? Is it going to be the Green Bay Packers? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.